Hey everyone, welcome back to Experts.
What?
Okay, why'd you freak out? Why'd you freak out?
Audio Jungle.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Experts About Nothing. We are here for another episode combined. Priya did such a good job last week with her solo episode. Brought me to tears, literally.
Oh my god. Say less, please.
She did so good, and I'm happy to be back. And today we have kind of a fun and spicy episode. I know we say that all the time, but this one is truly very spicy because we're talking about love myths.
The myths about love.
Thank you. So yeah, we will dive right into that. But first, we'll talk about the inspiration behind the episode.
There was some clear inspo.
Was us binging Love is Blind. Mainly me. Priya just kind of watched bits here and there and then the finales.
I watched bits and then I watched all the spoilers on TikTok.
Okay, so she's basically just caught up.
I'm caught up, yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to first talk about the Love is Blind recap.
Okay, here's my recap of the show.
All right.
And obviously we're going to have spoilers, so if you haven't watched season 3 of Love is Blind, scrub ahead. But I was telling Diksha this just 2 minutes ago. I think the show is probably the most messed up dating show that's out there right now. Because I understand this whole experiment. I think it's interesting, you know. You have to try to connect with people without seeing them. I think that part is cool and fresh. But then they're like, okay, now that you've connected with someone, propose, which I think is wild. Like, in what world are you going to just like randomly propose to someone you've never seen?
Also, someone you've never seen interact with anyone else.
Like, you have not gotten to even see their body language. Like, you're just hearing their voice. Such a, like, one-dimensional view of a person. It's like, you're proposing to a pen pal. And then they're like, we're going to ship you off to this island. You get to see all the other people that you potentially could have connected with. You're not allowed to really, like, explore any other connection based off of the energies that you had. Mind you, like, most of these people connect with more than one person. They just have to choose the one that they like the most.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, now you have 2 weeks till you get married. And I'm like, that's crazy.
And they're all in, like, the same apartment building. And it's, like, a very confined, weird
It's very,
space.
like, dystopian.
This is nothing like real life. Like, nothing at all. And I think that's why on the show they keep going back to the concept of real life. But it's also messed up because I think it like makes them question how they've interacted with people up until that point. They've built so many organic connections and then they're like forced into this situation basically, especially when things are like more one-sided. Whoa. You just have to kind of keep going along with it.
Yes, that's the part that's the most messed up. Like, they have to do this wedding. They're not able to like tap out at any point.
And this is my biggest question because I didn't watch last season. I watched the first season, but are you allowed to just dip before? I think you are because...
Okay, I don't know if you are though because we've never seen anyone do that. Like in both
or
the
at
first
least and the third
first
seasons.
and the third season.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the second season they didn't either because I watched the reunion. And I was like, I need to see the tea.
She has 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
It's very that. And I'm trying to understand what's going on, but I cannot commit to this whole show because it makes me mad uncomfortable, honestly, I watch it.
It is very uncomfortable. Bachelor, for example, puts some audio behind some parts, so it's like not fully just silence.
I know. This is like, you're hearing every word they're saying to each other.
The scene with Zainab and Cole, holy camole, them in their kitchen wanted to make me die.
I know.
Like,
I was like, let me run out of here. I don't want to see
it
this.
It was actually so mad uncomfortable, and it was giving zero help from music. Like, zero.
No. It's too raw and real.
I
mean, I'm sure they cut out so much stuff that, like, actually happened in these conversations, but...
Yeah.
Even Bachelor in Paradise, I'm like, at least they're on this beach for, like, 8 weeks or something. and they're vibing. They see all these different people. They explore all these different connections, and then they're, like, choosing to be with a person.
Yes.
And they have the opportunity to tap out before this engagement. Because so many of the couples break up, like, right before the engagement. They're like, okay, this was fun and all, but I can't marry you right now, so I'm going to peace out. And I'm like, great. And even on The Bachelor, like, the actual Bachelor, so many people just tap out. Or at the end, they're like, yeah, I want to be with you, but I can't propose to you because this is crazy. Like, I don't really know you that well.
And that's why the one couple that I fully respect and I'm, like, all in for are SK and Raven. Because SK was just so...
He was honest.
Honest, sweet, raw, and real with his intentions. And honestly, I think Raven was too. I really appreciated how they had, like, comfortable boundaries set between themselves, and you kind of saw, like, we talked about this, their natural progression throughout their time on the show. But I also really respected how SK, at the altar, he was like, I love you, but I don't want to do this like this. That was so much more respectful of everyone's time there, of your loved ones watching you, and it wasn't embarrassing. You know what I mean?
It was less humiliating than... Bartise and Nancy, which was actually so hard to watch. This is why I think they don't have the opportunity to tap out before the wedding, because SK definitely would have been no, I don't want to do this on the altar. He was like, that's awkward and I would not want to do that, but, like, they kind of forced you into it.
And it's also just messed up to make people go through the process of getting a wedding dress, meeting your family, all of this really intimate stuff, and then, like, setting up a whole wedding, and including, like, cultural aspects is so trippy.
I know, and it inevitably, if you are the person who's like, I actually can't marry you, it makes that person look horrible. Like, it makes both parties look bad because the other party's, like, embarrassed.
Yeah.
But the person who actually says no, they look like the devil because they're like, you orchestrated this whole wedding and, like, everyone's here and, like, you're gonna say no. And it's the show. Yeah. It's, like, the show forcing you to do that. I mean, I'm sure the delivery, like, Bartise's delivery was so beef that it was like...
so bad. Oh, my God. Okay, this is the one thing. I did understand why when Bartise was like, if I don't know, then that's my answer right there. Yes, that makes sense. But you've been on this I don't know for, like, weeks at this point. The world has seen you not knowing.
There's points where they really lead the other person on. Like, he was like...
Oh, clearly. Like, with the shot before the wedding.
The whole lead up, it's like, if you're completely... Like, I think... We haven't even watched the finale of this.
Which is crazy that we're doing this.
We're acting like we're Love is Blind experts, and I've only watched 3.5 episodes.
No, I watched this whole season.
Yeah,
so
you did.
I committed the time, but...
But from what I've seen, which is a small amount, like, I'm not going to be surprised if Cole or Zaynab says no. Especially Cole. Like, if he said no... and Zaynab acts shocked, I'm gonna be like, girl, you've been new. He actually this whole time was like, I think I love you, but, like, I don't know if I can marry you right now. You're kind of annoying. And I'm like, you're not compatible.
You, but I also hate you.
Yeah.
He said that too.
And it's like 2 days before their wedding. And I'm like...
And then they have a massive explosive fight 2 days before their wedding.
I know. That seems like they're on the same page, at least.
Yeah.
That, like, she cannot be shook if they don't get married at the end of this. Whereas, like, Bartise and Nancy were having all these romantic, crazy conversations, and he was, like, kind of telling her everything she wanted to hear.
At that dinner, I was like, hold up. Basically, you just told Nancy that you're fully in love with her and you can't imagine a life without her.
Yeah.
But now you're going to turn around and be like, psych. Like, what? That was actually 2 days ago.
I don't know. There's things that people could do to kind of toss some hints into the mix.
That's why, like, I have no bad feelings towards SK. And I don't even... Raven doesn't have bad feelings towards SK. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, like, one of the things that I really respected on this season, just seeing people be real.
Be a little bit more authentic.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think this show, I mean, I think people leave this show needing some serious therapy. It seems like they're leaving with more baggage.
I still love this show. Like,
no,
I will watch
it's incredibly great television, like, a very entertaining.
Yes.
But I'm like, the premise is kind of wackadoodle.
This is not the show to go on to get clout and to be an influencer.
No, you're going to get haters.
there's so much baggage involved that you have to sign up for. And this is on, like, the chance that you get, that you do fall in love. Because you see, like, so many people when they first enter the pods, and, like, majority of those people end up not finding connection, which is why they hone in on just, like, 5 couples, right? You can't just jump on the show hoping for some airtime and some immediate followers, because you might get the exact opposite of that.
No, yeah. Like, what was his name? The person everyone hated last season? The Indian guy. I don't know his name. Shake. Literally, I watched the reunion just to hate on Shake because everyone was hating on him. So I was like, okay, time to watch it.
Literally, I know so many people that didn't watch the show but know who Shake is.
Yeah, because he's actually infamous. Like, he was the villain. I know. But, yeah, all in all, kind of a wild show, but it gave us the topic of this pod. And the first myth we want to actually unpack is love blind?
I think we all know that love is actually not blind, but I think it's more than just, like, the physical chemistry aspect of it. It is super important to fall in love with someone, like, emotionally, have that deeper mental connection. But I think a lot of, like, what you see on the show is that all is well, like, when they're in the pods and it's just them two talking to each other and, like, no one else kind of matters. But then when you're put in the real world, a lot of it is, like, seeing how someone interacts with someone else and, like, how they speak to you and how they handle specific situations. Like, there's more than just you two outside the pods. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, like, one aspect about Love is Blind that you don't really get the full picture of. My answer to it is love is not blind. It can't be in a lot of ways, just because a person is more than just their appearance. It's, like, how they interact with people.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, you could maybe start to fall in love with this blindness. Like, yes. I think you could, like, really be connected to someone emotionally, but you need to experience life with a person to actually know their true character. More than the physical chemistry aspect of it, I think it's, like, love takes time, and that's why also this show stresses me out, because I'm like,
it's like a 3-week show.
How are you supposed to know that you're falling in love with someone in 3 weeks in this crazy scenario? Yeah. It could be the foundation to a relationship, but it can't be the only thing that lets you fall in love with someone.
I completely agree. And, like, exactly what you said about how someone interacts in different facets of their own life. You don't really know, like, a person's work ethic from talking to them.
Yeah.
Or, like, what their habits are, what their day-to-day lifestyle is. I remember, like, one scene between, like, Matt and Colleen. And Colleen was just, like, out until 2:30, but literally with the other people on Love is Blind. So I'm like, okay, it's okay that she's out. But Matt got really offended that he was like, I'm going home, and that she wouldn't come home with him. But, like, maybe that she just lives a different lifestyle.
Yeah, and he would never know that.
Yeah, like, how would he know that? And, like, how would people, like, be upfront about their shortcomings in a pod-like setting?
Actions literally speak louder than words. Like, I think a lot of times people are slightly delusional, and, like, they may think that they operate a certain way, and they
actually don't.
Yeah, like, their actions are different. Like, I know, like, I literally do that. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, I hate going out, and then I'll be out, and I'm like, I'm having a great time. I'll see you later. I'll be out for a couple more hours. Whatever mood you're in that situation, like, you don't even know. You couldn't anticipate that. Mm-hmm. So you need to actually see if your lifestyles are compatible.
Yeah, which is a big part of the show that it's, like, missing in the pods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think both of us can lock in.
Not blind.
Love is not blind. Sing it, Priya.
Love is not blind.
On to the next one. So, this got us talking, and Priya brought up soulmates. We were talking about it with our roomies the other day, and it is one of those constructs that you hear about from early age, but what is your thought on soulmates?
Okay, so Deeksha looked up the definition of soulmates, and it's a person ideally suited to another as a close friend or romantic partner. And I think that exists for sure. Like, I think there are people who are ideally suited for each other. You're very compatible. It just clicks and it feels right. Like, I believe in the realistic version of a soulmate. I don't believe in, like, the romantic version of a soulmate. I don't believe in, like, the fanfare surrounding it, because I don't think there's a person that you're meant to be with, and you...
Like, one person.
Like, one person that you, like, are destined to be with, and you're gonna know in that moment that you're destined to be with them, or, like, you're gonna have an aha moment that they're your soulmate, and they're, like... you know, explosions in the sky or whatever. Like, you know, like, I don't believe in that. I think that there are probably, like, a lot of people that you're compatible with, but you're not going to interact with all those people. And so when you do interact with someone and you have that compatibility and, like, the fact that two people have the same intention to want to be in a relationship or even a friendship, like a deep friendship together, that's super rare. And, like, I think that makes you a soulmate.
And then something that we also talked about, and, like, something that I honestly found on a website called, let me give them their hype, lonerwolf.com.
Oh, gosh.
They said sometimes our soulmates stay for a season and sometimes they stay for a lifetime. And I feel like that is so real. You have deep connections with different people at different parts of your life. And that's not to say that, like, they're not your soulmate if they're not still around. It was what you needed at that time to grow.
No, I think that's definitely true. I think the idea of a soulmate can sound really dramatic, and that is what sometimes prevents people from progressing a relationship, even if they're two compatible people, and, like, maybe it's progressing and it's going well, but it's not this dramatic thing, and you're like, oh, if I didn't feel this strongly about this person, then they're not my soulmate, so I shouldn't pursue it. And I know that I think that all the time too. I'm like, I don't feel that strongly about it, like, next. When it's like, no, like, I think it's all about, if we reframe what a soulmate is to that intention piece, then, like, a lot of people could be your soulmate if you put in the effort to see if, like, it could go the mile, you know?
Sometimes people feel like it's like an instant deep connection. A connection can deepen significantly over time. I am so close to, like, certain friends now that I wasn't before, but I feel like it's because of what you said, like, the intention of, like, growing that relationship and becoming deeper and closer with them. And I think the same of romantic relationships as well. I think the only difference is, like, the spark, right? Like, there has to be some level of, like, I believe at least, there has to be some level of, like, physical connection, physical attraction, but it's not like it's going to happen overnight.
Yeah, sometimes it could grow. Like, sometimes that physical connection could grow, and also sometimes you have, like, a really strong physical connection in the beginning, and then you're not soulmates. Like, you're not actually compatible, and it's, like, just lust for, like, a little bit of time, you know?
And you saw that on the show as well, like, with Raven and Bartise, where, like, Bartise was like, she is exactly who I would go for in the real world. She's super attractive. I'm super attractive. Naturally, we make sense. And then Raven shut that down so fast. This man is just speaking out of his eyes. You know what I mean? Like, he's not actually thinking about the lack of connection they had. So the difference between a soulmate and, we'll call it a run-of-the-mill connection, okay, is that generally you'll probably find that there's less friction and it's easier to maintain. Which I do agree with. I think there are people that you naturally gravitate towards and, like, naturally have, like, a good vibe with. And you don't have to, like, adjust how you are. And I feel like that is the main definition of a soulmate. Like, and that's the feeling that you would have is what I think it is, right? Ultimately, like, your characters align very closely. And I think that's, like, the key.
Yeah, like, that's why there's less friction.
Yes.
It's because you, like, align fundamentally on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, the next myth is love at first sight, which is basically the opposite of Love is Blind. And I am just going to hit it with a no.
I mean, yeah, true that, no.
And, okay, so I think especially love at first sight on, like, a visual, like, if I just lock eyes with someone, I'm not going to be in love with them. Like, I could not fathom that.
Yeah, I don't think that is realistic. I think that is definitely just attraction at that point.
That's attraction. And I think first sight, we were reading online that it could be, like, an initial impression.
Research, you guys.
Yeah, we were just Googling some of these. But I think an initial impression, you could develop excitement for a person, or you know, after having, like,
pique
a first
your interest.
Yeah, you would want to pursue someone perhaps, but not love.
Like, you know how, like, you can be like, oh yeah, I love them, like, whatever. Like, maybe you could surface level love them, but, like, not be in love with them. How would you know, like, you want to build a deep connection with this person if you haven't, like... It takes months to develop a strong friendship. And I feel like there's so many layers that you have to unpack to get to that place of love where it's, like, true love.
Yeah, no way. That's why when I watched Romeo and Juliet for the first time, I was like, this is bananas.
You watched Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, like the movie doll. Like, back in the day. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh, I did not watch that movie.
Okay, well, there's a full movie, and it's kind of... wow. It's basically... Have you watched Ram Leela?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, it's basically the same plot.
Okay.
Romeo and Juliet. But, like... So they just fell in love with each other in one day, and then both died for each other? Like, that's crazy. And I've just never been a fan of love at first sight. I just think that that's, like, terrifying.
Yeah, it is. And it's very surface level. I don't think you can get that deep by, like, just, like, being infatuated with someone's appearance or, like... Yeah, and like you said, I think a key portion of this is, like, watching someone experience hardship or go through even a variety of hardships. Like, I think that's when you really see people's true characters. And even, like, when you go through hardship, like, how they react
how they're
for you.
there for you. Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think those are really crucial things that cannot be escaped. We're at our last spicy one, and that is opposites attract. So, I feel like opposites attract is one of the more controversial myths that exist out there, because I think we've all seen scenarios in which people that work out that are quote unquote opposites, right? And I think what's important to note here is, like, they're probably opposites in personality, but their characters are probably very closely aligned. Someone's core beliefs could be the same, but the way they show themselves outwardly and the way they, like, interact with people, communicate with people, like, live their life could be very different. But that's not to say that you wouldn't get along really well. And so I feel like opposites do attract in terms of different personalities, but not in terms of different characters.
Yes. I think they can attract. I think people feel like sometimes they need to have something really differing between their partner and themselves, because they're like, opposites attract, so I should, like, that's what causes excitement and, like, friction, but, like, makes it fun. And I agree, like, even if two people are, like, quote unquote opposite, fundamentally they need to align on, like, basic things for the relationship to work. But I also think opposites don't have to attract, you know?
I agree. I think there's many relationships in which people are similar.
Like, two similar people can also vibe.
Yeah.
And I think we just don't see that enough. Or at least that's not, like, highlighted.
It's not pointed out
It's
enough.
not highlighted enough.
Yeah.
It's usually, like, the fun romantic things that you see are, like, two completely different people who, like, you know, make it work.
Yeah.
It's like the enemies to lovers trope. That's, like, the whole, like, arc in TV shows. And I think that can happen. And definitely people who are really different can be compatible. But I think people who are similar can also be compatible. And it can also be exciting and fun. We see that a lot where, like, someone's like, oh, I want to, like, date the bad boy. Or, like, I want to
change this person. Or
yeah,
whatever.
you want to, like, try to fix a person. Whatever. Like, yeah, you basically want to date someone who's, like, very different from you, and you think that, like, you both could, like, meet in the middle. And I think that could work, but you can't actually, like, fundamentally change the inside of a person, you know?
Yes.
And so I think that works if deep down you both have a lot of the same priorities and, like, fundamental beliefs, but it could be, like, fun for a season, but I think it wouldn't work out in the long term if, like, someone's actually completely different from you.
Now on to the very last one.
The very last one.
And Priya hates
And
it.
my personal least favorite. You will find love when you least expect it. You go first. I want to hear your perspective.
Oh, I'm scared because
No, I want to hear it.
Okay. I think anyone that's in a relationship thinks this is true.
Yeah.
And I think anyone not yet in a relationship thinks this is false.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I feel like that's the tendency. But that's not to say that it can't find you when you are actively seeking it out. It's like one of those things where it's like people that have found a romantic interest or, like, are in a relationship or whatever feel like they found it when they were not looking. And in some cases, it's very true. In some cases, it's like, partially true. But then I feel like there's the other half of people where it's like they're actively on dating apps and like really trying to put themselves out there and like seemingly things are not working out for them.
Yeah, I think fundamentally, I just don't believe this.
Oh,
like even
spice.
Even if when I read this, when it's like you will find love when you least expect it, I'm not thinking about like a setting, right? You could find love like in random places. I agree with that, right? Like you could be on vacation somewhere and you like find someone that you would never meet in like your normal walks of life, and that could be the person you get into a relationship with, like whatever, like internship, like
sure.
All these like random settings that people go to.
Okay.
I think people confuse like that with what the sentiment of this statement is.
Okay.
Which is like in those situations, I don't think you're like not expecting something to happen. Like even for us going on internships, like I think when you hit a certain age, right? You turn, 16, 17?
Right.
Maybe younger if you're, like, on the prowl from a young age. You know what I mean? And you're, like, kind of always thinking about this. For the most part. I would say, like, 80% of people.
Yeah, I would agree. I think people are, like, fantasizing about, like, when they will meet their person.
That doesn't mean that you're, like, actively dating every single day or something.
Yes.
But, like, before we went to college, I think everyone's like, oh, am I going to meet someone in college?
Yeah,
and then you go on your internships, and you're like, oh, am I going to meet someone in my internship? And then you start your first job. Like, that is constantly there.
Like it's constantly there, but, like, when it's, am I going to meet someone? I'm going to meet someone here. I'm going to meet someone here. Like, when that mindset kind of comes down, and it's just kind of like, you're literally just living to live. In my perspective, like, I thought that's what that meant. You're not necessarily, like, seeking a relationship or, like, going out for the purpose of, like, meeting people. Genuinely, I feel like when I went to my internship, I was like, I'm about to kill this internship so good and then get a return offer. Like, that was, like, my only thought going into my head. I was like, I'm going to Ohio. And it just so happened I did meet someone. So I think in that situation, I was like, okay, like, my mind was not thinking about getting a relationship out of the summer or, like,
I don't think
it
needs to be, like, that's your main intention.
Okay.
But I think when you saw P, you were like, I'm going to think about this, right? Like, you're not going to, like, see him in the room and be like, yeah, I'm going to kill my internship. Like, I know that's not what you thought. Like, I know for a fact. You were like, maybe I have a second sub-bullet that I'm also going to accomplish this summer.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's true. But I think in that regard, it does find you when you're not looking. Like,
I know, but I'm like, I think
you could want it for a long time, but still not be looking for it when you find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're not, like, out here with a magnifying glass, like, looking. Like, I understand that.
I think we all know certain people, they always kind of have love on the brain. And they're kind of, like, going out all the time. They're always kind of scoping out scenes, but they're not necessarily present in their moment.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
I think that part of it's true. You need to, like, be present. This is very controversial for me just because I've received a lot of this. So I've heard it. Oh, this just hasn't worked out for you because it's going to come when you least expect it. Or, like, you need to work on yourself first and then it'll come to you. Like, whatever. Like, stuff like that is what people say to single people. True, but, like, multiple realities can be true.
I agree with that.
I also know a ton of people who were actively seeking out a relationship and it worked out for them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
completely agree. Yeah.
And so I'm like, you can find love randomly, but I think you still had to come into that situation open to love. Like,
yes,
you couldn't.
I love that. I think you're not, like, out on the streets like, hey, maybe I could date that guy. Maybe I could date that guy.
It's not like and I think that is what happens anytime you meet someone not through, like, a setup or a dating app. Like, anytime that's not the scenario that you're, like, meeting your significant other, that's technically when you least expect it. Because
or I think it could also happen when you're, like, casually and, like, you actually are expecting nothing and you're just doing it for fun.
Yeah, but I still don't believe that that's a scenario.
Like, that, like, people would be doing it for fun and,
I think people
not.
can, like, casually do things, but especially if you're, like, dating, why I don't know. Maybe I'm, like, wrong and I have, like, a very narrow-minded vision of this, but I'm like, if anyone's dating, I don't think they're dating to, like, date. Like, dating's, like, not that fun.
But I feel like some guys do that.
They do, but I think they have another objective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think they're dating to get something else out of the situation.
And I think girls can also do that.
No, for sure. Like, I think people date for an objective. Like, you're not dating to date. You're dating either to, like, get some, or you're dating for a relationship. There's really not much other middle ground there. Like, what are you doing? Just going out, meeting strangers for fun? Like, it's actually kind of like a beat process. So I'm like, you're not doing this for fun to pass time. Like, that's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. Like,
I think it's very true that there are multiple realities, that like you could be actively seeking it out, and I think you can be doing your thing, living your best life, being present in the moment, and still deeply want a romantic connection. I think it's more about just like being ready and open to doing that, and like being secure enough in yourself to welcome that into your life. And that could like manifest into you putting a lot of effort out there, or it could manifest in you doing nothing and things just coming to you. But regardless, I do think it's like a type of manifestation. Things will just like work for you when they're meant to work for you.
Yeah, I think so, kind of.
Okay. Cool.
I feel like, yeah, that's a halfway one for me. But I do think that, like, things will find you at the right time in your life. That, I feel like that I have to believe.
Yes, I think situations present themselves to you.
Yeah.
When they're supposed to present themselves to you. For a reason.
And I think it's also, like, that's the type of mindset that will help you manifest those things in your life.
Like manifest positive.
Yeah, because if you truly don't believe that at the end of the day, then it's going to be...
Then you're just going to be negative about that
bleak.
aspect of your life.
You're just going to feel like life is bleak, which is beat.
Well, okay. Fun.
Those are the love myths.
And
for
let us
cuffing
know
season.
If you agree, if you don't. And you know what I think would be really fun? If we polled on our Instagram and got people's thoughts on it. I think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
But let's round it out with the fave.
Okay. Favorite reality TV show that you're currently watching?
I've clearly like delved deep into Love is Blind. I'm like a few episodes behind in Bachelor in Paradise. I've watched Dubai Bling. Watched Bling Empire Season 3.
Oh my god.
And I want to watch Selling Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
But of the ones that I've watched, I think my favorite is Dubai Bling because it's different. You just like see a different culture because it is geographically in a different place, whereas like even Bling Empire was still in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of like American influence in that show as well. Obviously there's a lot of cultural like elements as well there, but with Dubai Bling, like you just saw completely different culture, like the situations that they experience and like that part of the world. They talk about elements of like surrogacy and women like doing their own careers and like balancing those things and how those are kind of controversial topics there. It's just really cool to see. And, you know, they have a lot of their own drama too, which is also petty, but it's cool to see a different setting like that.
Yeah. No, that sounds cool. Is that like also real estate based?
No. Dubai Bling is kind of like Bling Empire, and that's just a bunch of like rich people
okay.
in like a specific location. Yeah.
Okay, got it. My current favorite reality TV show. I frankly am not watching too many. I feel like we're watching Bachelor in Paradise, Kardashians.
Oh, Kardashians, I forgot.
Yeah.
I mean, I always love them, but
yeah.
still love them.
Love is Blind, and then I watch some Bravo, so some Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I will say the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion was like some of the best TV I've ever watched. It was actually just too good. Especially the last part, I was like, wow.
You're a major Real Housewives stan. I have never really gotten into it.
I know, I am. But it takes like time to build it up. Currently, though, I think Bachelor in Paradise is giving me the most joy to watch.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's spicy.
It's so fun, and like some of the people this season are just such clowns. And also there's just so much external tea that's going on with the show, because like now the people like in present day, you know, like relationships that they're in, and you're like, how did that happen? And so now I'm really hyped to finish the show, to understand, like I want to see this reunion so badly.
Oh my god, I have so much homework this week.
I know. There's like a bunch you need to catch up on. But that show is hitting, and there are some people on the show that I'm like, I love these people on the show. Like, Victoria
An icon.
is killing it this season. She's so funny and, like, totally redeemed herself from The Bachelor. Yeah. I think. Rodney is a king. Everyone loves him. I love him. And Aaron.
You love Aaron?
No, Aaron is just the biggest clown. He's also, like, the funniest person to listen to because he says the dumbest stuff. Him and Genevieve, like, it's like, I really don't think they're going to work out in the long term because extreme toxicity in there. But their conversations just are so entertaining to watch.
They argue about actually anything.
The dumbest thing. And it's like two people who are so immature. Actually, like, it's like two kids. Anyway.
It almost makes you feel like you missed something. And you're like, wait.
Yeah, I'm like, are they cutting out parts of the show? But I don't think they are. I think they truly are, like, a little bit ridiculous. And that's the tea.
Well, this has been a really spicy episode. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. And please follow us on the gram at Experts About Nothing. Rate the show. Share with a friend if you're liking it. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you in the DM.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everyone.